Hey, hey, hey. How's it going? Friends, my name is Mike Rivera, real estate broker here for 30 years in Southwest Florida. A lot of you guys know who I am. I wanted to talk today a little bit about the NAR settlement and the changes coming. You hear that thunder? That's 1.5 million realtors belly aching about changes. But here's the thing, guys. Life is that everything changes and everything succumbs to impermanence, which means nothing stays the same. And that is the same that we're going to talk about today for the NAR settlement rules. I want you guys to know this is the video you want to watch. This is the right place you need to be. Again, my name is Mike Rivera. I'm a local Southwest Florida real estate advisor here for 30 years. Real estate appraiser for Countrywide, Fifth Third Bank. LandSafe for about 10 years, worked with Apple Bank and Mortgage, and a bunch of other lenders over the years as well. I was a former licensed mortgage broker, so I've held many hats, many licenses. And so what I want to talk to you today about is these new changes. And I could get into a bunch of other things, but I'm going to make this video a little bit on the short side. And so this is what we're going to talk about. The changes that matter, it affects sellers and it affects buyers. There are winners in this deal and there's losers. And quite honestly, the loser is going to be the buyer at this point without representation. And the winner is, as the suit was designed, the seller. It's pretty simple, right? And so what we're doing here is we're going to talk about the documents that you need to sign and the required disclosures, right? So, first thing we need to talk about is, commissions have always been negotiable. This suit was about a fraudulent claim that it was not negotiable. That's a lie. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I used to have postcards that I went all over Southwest Florida, 4.5% commission. I've used that commission rate before for people, in particular for higher end homes, and it's always negotiable. It always has been. Me as a broker, a listing broker, I've never offered or charged 6%. The only time we used to charge 6% or even 8, 9, 10% was for land. And that's a totally different product design. And for that, for commercial real estate, sometimes we only charge 2%. So every product, every customer is different. I've also sold commercial real estate. That's a totally different world. We operate on commission agreements anyway. We don't have MLS compensation. So this is really nothing for me. But for many realtors, it is. They're not used to it. And so that's that. So a lot of them are struggling, and there's a lot of complaining and belly aching going on apparently on social media about this. There are going to be some buyers with buyer's remorse, and there are going to be some buyers that are going to go direct to the seller or the seller's agent, and they're really going to have buyer's remorse. But there are plans and there are tips in place to mitigate these problems, to make sure that you are represented and to make sure that you get to claw back your money from that seller to pay for your agent. And if you want to know more about that, you can call me and we can talk about it. Here are some of the changes. Change 1, prohibiting offers of compensation on the MLS. One of the significant changes in the change is the prohibition of offers of compensation. The reason why the MLS was designed for broker reciprocity, compensation, and data sharing. It is the purpose. It is the reason why the MLS exists. The fact that they have now pulled that away brings up the possibility of the MLS not exist. It does not serve a purpose as intended. It was an intranet system, not an internet system. It became an internet system where Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, and all these other online systems manipulated the data for their own reason. The MLS made billion-dollar corporations like Zillow. Without the MLS and realtors like myself who pay for it on annual fees, Zillow would not exist. And, good for them. They manipulated the data. They figured out a way to use what was meant to be for brokers for their capital needs, greed, whatever you want to call it. There's nothing we can do about it. It is what it is. The bottom line is, once this change goes into effect, consumers will only have an option to negotiate that commission back through the purchase and sale agreement and or some addendums. So that's how that has to work now. This may allow for some flexibility, and if you have a greedy seller who doesn't care, it may not. You may lose deals. You may pay more. You may pay 103% of the transaction. Let's be honest, for sale by owners and sellers, most of them are greedy. Maybe they don't have the money, but most of them are just greedy. They could be investors. So right now, more than ever, it is important that buyers have aggressive buyer's agents. Okay? Buyer's agents will be needed in this new Wild West of real estate. Keep in mind, the buyer's agent can also charge you a retainer fee. That's another system that they've put in place, similar to attorneys. Prepaid retainer fees could be tax deductible, right? Consulting fees. So there are some options here, depending on the kind of buyer you are. If you are an investor buyer, there could be some really good options here where you're consistently doing deal flow and you're able to write off consulting fees, retaining fees. I'm no tax expert, but that is a train of thought that I've had in my head that could be a possibility, right? So there's that. Change number 2, the elimination of broker compensation fields in the MLS. Same thing, basically. I don't know why they call it change 2, but it's the same thing. No offers of compensation. Change 1 means no offers of compensation, meaning in the subject line, property description, confidential notes, other areas. The change 2 is the elimination of fields. Prior to in the MLS, there are fields, right? Zoning, bathrooms, bedrooms, square footage, gross square footage, whatever. So in those fields, 1, 2, 3, transaction agent, seller agent, buyer agent, non-representative agent, in those fields, that's going to be removed. That's change number 2. Change number 3 is compensation disclosure. What is the disclosure? Commissions are not set by law. For the seller, commissions are not set by law. For the buyer, whatever. I mean, it's silly, to be honest. It's silly, but you have a lawyer that earned $160 million there. So there's that. Plus BlackRock and all the institutional buyers that own real estate, single family homes now, they're going to be selling soon. You think they had something to do with this? I don't know. Here's really important, change number 4, and this is for you, Mr. Buyer. This is for you. A written agreement with buyers must be signed by the buyer prior to touring or visiting any home for sale on the MLS. You understand that? A written agreement, meaning a commission agreement, an agreement for compensation. You must have an agent and you must agree to pay for that agent before you look at any property listed on the MLS. That means also these for sale by owners that hire these brokers for $1,000, that's been going on forever, but they said that's not, prices were fixed, right? But for the last 15, 20 years, there are a zillion discount brokers that you pay $1,000 for, $1,000, and they submit your for sale by owner property onto the MLS. That's been going on for decades. It's still going on. It'll go on now, right? But now, guess what, Mr. For Sale by Owner? Now, before any buyer sees that house on the MLS, that buyer has to sign a broker agreement with an MLS participant, an agent. Otherwise, that buyer cannot see that house. That's what that happened there for you. Guess what? Guess how that changes you, Mr. Seller, if you're a for sale by owner. Did you think about that? I don't think so. The bottom line is that this ensures that there's a clear understanding that the buyer has potentially to pay for their fee, okay? And that for that, they're allowed to now tour the MLS property. That's the deal. This sets a new expectation for the sellers under this settlement. And then, of course, if that buyer wants to make an offer, they then have to make an offer knowing that they have to try to claw back some of their money. What do I mean by that? If a buyer pays $100,000 for a house, he has to put $20,000 up for the down payment. Typically, the seller's agent was paid by the buyer's money, and the buyer's agent was paid by the buyer's money. What they're saying now is that only the seller's agent can be paid by the buyer's money, and the buyer has to pay more money, 103% above the transaction amount. Maybe if there's a seller that doesn't want to work or offer a win-win type of negotiation. That's a possibility. 103%. So, you know, sellers, if you're considering selling a home, and if you're considering buying a home, it's crucial to understand these new NAR settlement rules and how they may impact your transaction and the amount of time and extra paperwork and red tape and other entanglements that may happen. Sellers, for you, it is imperative, sellers, that you understand that commission sharing was done by brokers. If you sign an agreement for 5%, it was the broker that decided to share with the other broker. Now, it's going to be the same thing. You just have to confirm it that that's how that's going to be. You have to confirm and authorize it as such. You can authorize it with a listing agreement, the same one that we use. It has a disclosure now, but it's the same damn thing. If I sign an agreement with you for 5%, I take 2.5%. I offer a buyer's agent 2.5%, so that the buyer can then look at your house and be like, oh, okay. If I offer $100,000, my money, a portion of my money will go to the seller's agent. A portion of my money will go to my buyer's agent so that I feel comfortable. I know I'm represented. I know that everything about this transaction makes sense, and I'm willing to pay the full price. I'm willing to maximize or maybe even offer more. Why? Because I'm comfortable in knowing that I have a representative that made sure that the comps made sense, that the appraisal makes sense, and that we've exhausted all the due diligence in this transaction to pay the full amount, to pay the maximum amount. If you offer money, you get competitive offers. It's just as simple. You give to get, right? You give to get. Do we all agree? I think so. So, you know, there's going to be some other seller concessions that you're going to have to do, right? You're going to have to offer some seller concessions, typically like you have to do now in this market, in places like Cape Coral, Lehigh, wherever, Fort Myers, even Naples, the estates. Sellers are offering 3%, 4% seller concessions for the buyer's closing cost as well. These things that are typically negotiated are not going to change. And when it's a seller's market, typically you get to offer nothing, right? But at the end of the day, buyers are struggling. And if you do not plan a contingency to handle the buyer's agent now that the buyers are demanded and remanded by the law to have a buyer's broker agreement, your listing will really not get offers now, because commissions have been placed front and center as an extra closing cost to the buyer. I hope I'm explaining that for you guys. That's how detrimental this is to sellers right now, because if you're a greedy seller, you can be like, yeah, I'm only going to pay 2%. I don't give a shit, whatever. Cool. And every time a buyer looks at your house and then the buyer says, hey, Mr. Agent, can you call and find out to make sure that this seller is offering compensation out of the proceeds, the money that I give him, out of those proceeds that I'm willing to give him in a purchase and sale agreement, is he willing to give me some of that money back to pay you to cover the agreement cost? Because if he's not, tell that seller we're not interested in making an offer anymore. Does that make sense now, seller? it's imperative that you understand this, that you understand these rules, and that you get out in front of it, okay? Hey guys, I'm gonna make this one short because I made another one that's 25 minutes long, way too long. I'm making different videos trying to mess around with this so that I can help people understand this, and also agents, less experienced agents that don't understand this, and maybe they can, you know, garner something from this in regards to ideas. I've already have contingency plans in place. I'm a commercial real estate broker. I sell multi-million-dollar commercial real estate deals, and we deal with this on a daily basis already. So the fact that this has moved to the residential field means nothing to me. Easy peasy, baby. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. That's what I wanted to share with you. If you want to talk to me about it, give me a call. My number is 941-229-0888. I am more than willing to explain this, offer more information and guidance, offer the documents that you need to understand. And together, okay, along with a great mortgage broker, we can navigate these changes and ensure a successful and fair sale, a win-win for everyone. Because remember, if it's not a win-win, the amount of transaction velocity and volume goes down, okay? When car sales are weak, what do car manufacturers offer? Rebates, concessions. Buyer's agents agreements are the same thing. Financial or mortgage concessions are the same thing. It's just a different product, but the concepts are the same. So anyway, that's what I want to tell you guys. You know, let's make your real estate goals a reality. You know, I don't know if you know my quote. If you look at my logo, Mike Rivera, it says your goals, my experience, or our experience equals your success. And I mean that. Your goals, my experience equals your success and mine and all of ours. Because at the end of the day, cumulatively, when we have things that flow well, volume happens, velocity happens, and properties appreciate. The MLS is the direct reason why we've had so much appreciation, 10%, 15% a year. That doesn't happen in other institutional product or classes, right? That doesn't happen. That's not the normal rates of appreciation. Keep that in mind. The MLS is the reason why people felt challenged or had anxiety in regards to paying more for houses when there was a fervor of buying houses and less houses. So without the MLS and having some of these things in place, there's a possibility that velocity may go down. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I hope you have a great week and a great weekend. And realtors, don't fret. This is just a new way to do business. Talk to your broker. If you have a great mortgage broker that understands these things, maybe speak with them. And, you know, move forward. And that's what we have. And change is always inevitable. And if you either roll with the punches or you don't. And that's what we have, guys. All right. Have a good week.